Quick tip time. What's going on, everyone? Matt, aka Martillon here. I know it's been a little while, but I thought I'd bring you guys another quick tip compilation, compiling some of my quick tips from my Instagram over here on YouTube. So without any further ado, here are 10 quick tips for Ableton Live. Quick tip time. Honestly, I love using MIDI for drums. It makes my workflow really, really quick and simple, but there are some things that audio just does a lot better than MIDI, such as reversing. So a really common technique is to have a reverse snare going into a normal snare, right? And if you have your snare in MIDI, this can be really, really difficult to do. But let me show you a trick for how to really quickly and easily do this. So here I have this snare pattern, just sounds like this. And I want to add a reverse snare before this first snare here. I'm going to come down to the simpler instrument in which I have my snare loaded. I'm going to right click on the sample and I'm going to go show in browser. Once I do that, the sample that I have loaded up inside of my simpler instrument will show up in the browser, and then I can just click and drag it onto my timeline, trim it, and hit R on my keyboard to reverse it. And now suddenly we have a reverse snare leading into this first snare. Pretty cool. Quick tip time. Imagine you have a MIDI performance that you want to completely randomize the velocity of. Well, let me show you how to do that with the velocity MIDI effect. So I've got a MIDI performance here that's just playing a single note at a single velocity on a grand piano. It sounds like this. And what I want to do is randomize the velocity of each note. So I'm going to insert a velocity MIDI effect onto this grand piano track, set the out high control to 64 and the out low control to 64, and then set the random control all the way up to 64 as well. And now any note that gets sent into this velocity MIDI effect will be randomized between the lowest possible velocity value and the highest possible velocity value. Pretty cool. Quick tip time. There are a few different ways to start working with automation inside Ableton Live, but by far my favorite way is by using automation lanes. So here in this project, I've got an auto filter on this track that I want to automate the cutoff frequency of. All I'm going to do is right click on the parameter that I want to automate and click on show automation in new lane. Once I do that, Live will create a new automation lane for that parameter, and now we can start drawing in our automation. Automation lanes are a great way to keep all your automation organized, clear, and easy to understand. And if you have a bunch of automation lanes that you don't want to see, you can simply hide all automation lanes that are showing on a particular track by going over to the track header in automation mode and clicking on this little drop-down arrow. Quick tip time. Do you find yourself struggling creatively? Do you feel burnt out from all the work you've been doing? Maybe you just can't quite push through that creative block. Well, take a break. That's it. That's the tip. Quick tip time. Let me show you how to create a really cool stuttering effect using auto pan inside of Ableton Live. So here I've got this basic chord progression from one of my other quick tip videos that sounds like this. And all I'm going to do is load up an auto pan onto this track, change the rate type from time to sync, change the phase from 180 to 0, turn the amount all the way up, and the shape all the way up as well. Then I'm going to set the offset to 270 degrees. And now suddenly we have a sound that's stuttering at 16th notes. We can of course change the rate of this stutter by changing the rate of the auto pan. And we can of course automate this as well as the amount to get some interesting sounds. Pretty cool. Quick tip time. Let me show you how to make a wider delay sound without using a ping pong delay. So here I've got this basic wavetable patch just playing a few notes. Sounds like this. And I want to add a wide delay onto this. So what I'm going to do is insert a delay onto this track, set my delay time to whatever I want it to be. In this case, I'm going to set it to 8th notes, and then set the right offset to 1% and the left offset to -1%. And now our left and right delay times will be slightly out of sync with each other, creating a wider delay. Sounds like this. Pretty cool. Quick tip time. A really easy way to add a nice extra texture to your track is to arpeggiate the notes of your chord progression in a different sound. So let me show you how to do that really, really quickly. First, I've got this basic wavetable patch playing a really simple chord progression that sounds like this. And then I've got this operator track that has a nice plucky kind of synth sound on it that sounds like this. So what I'm going to do is copy down the MIDI from this Wavetable track to this operator track by holding down Alt and clicking and dragging. If you want, you can also reroute the MIDI into this operator track. And then all I'm going to do is just insert an arpeggiator onto this operator track. I'm going to change the rate of this arpeggiator to 16th notes. And then whilst it's playing, I'm going to change around some of the parameters like the style, gate, the steps, etc. to get something that I like. Once you have something you're happy with, you can alter the sound with delay, reverb, etc. And you have a really nice extra sound that you can add to your track as an extra layer. Quick tip time. Let me show you how to simulate a sidechain pumping-like effect using AutoPan inside of Ableton Live. So here I've got this basic wavetable patch playing a chord progression from one of my other quick tip videos that sounds like this. And all I'm going to do is load up an AutoPan onto this track, change the LFO rate type from time to synced, change the rate to quarter notes, set the phase to 0, the wave type to a sawtooth, invert the phase using this little button here, and then as I increase the amount of the AutoPan, we're going to get a more drastic pumping effect. I can set the amount to make the pumping more or less extreme. And then if I want something that's really extreme when it's pumping, I can even change the shape here. Really quick, easy, and dirty way of getting that simple sidechain pumping effect. Quick tip time. If you find yourself stuck creating 2-bar, 4-bar, 8-bar, 16-bar loops and not being able to move beyond that, well, one of my tips to you is to make sure to arrange out a song as soon as possible. Whenever I feel like I'm starting to get stuck inside of a single loop, I immediately begin to plot out the overall structure of the song. Whether that's something as basic as intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, something like that, or something a little bit more structured in depth like melody, drums, bass, etc, etc, etc. Starting to arrange a tune as quickly as possible is one of the best ways to get out of being stuck in the loop and make sure that you're actually progressing towards completing a full song. Quick tip time. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Wavetable is one of my absolute favorite instruments inside of Ableton Live. So let me show you one of my other favorite features of the instrument, the wavetable effects. So here I've got a default wavetable open up with just a single oscillator on the basic shapes wavetable, playing a saw wave that sounds like this. And what I'm going to do is come down to the bottom left of the wavetable window, click on the effect mode drop-down menu, and here we have a bunch of different effect modes to choose from. My favorite is modern. Each of the effect modes have 2 different parameters which change depending on the effect mode, and here's just a quick taste of what the modern mode can sound like. It can be a really great way to turn an otherwise basic sounding wavetable into a really interesting sound. I encourage you to experiment around with the other effect modes and find out what works for you.